Hello guys, what's up? This is Christopher from CMM today with some first impressions coverage about the Maze Alpha. So I did pre-order the Maze Alpha when it launched, and after roughly 2 months of waiting, this phone finally arrived. So this is another one of those three bezel-less phones that do kinda copy the Xiaomi Mi Mix, and this one is actually the first three bezel-less budget phone from China with a 6-inch display, so it is a phablet. It comes with a Full HD IPS LCD panel with 5-point touch and Gorilla Glass 4, and also the rear glass is Gorilla Glass 4. It has a nice metal frame, very similar to the Doogee Mix design, and the overall specs are very similar to the Doogee Mix as well. We have a Helio P25 Lite, so this is the 2.39 GHz version. We have 4 GB of PDDR4X RAM, we have 64 GB of internal memory, and there also will be a version in the future which boasts 6 GB of RAM and 128 GB of internal memory. The camera on the rear is a dual camera setup consisting of a 13 megapixel Samsung S5K3L8 main sensor and a 5 megapixel Galaxy Core GZ5025 secondary sensor, and the front camera is a 5 megapixel Sony IMX135 unit. The Maze Alpha boasts dual SIM support, dual nano SIM support. It's a hybrid slot, so it also supports micro SD card expansion if you can live with one SIM card only. We have support for band 20 LTE, support for ABGNAC Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.1, GPS, HPS, GLONASS and BDS. And the battery inside this thing is 4000 milliamps in size, and it offers 9 volts, 2 amps fast charging with Type-C plug. So the very first thing that stood out to me is how huge the Maze Alpha is. They really didn't do a good job getting the size down. I mean, this three bezel-less thing, it isn't really bezel-less, it's just called bezel-less because of the upper missing screen frame. This design is supposed to make phones slimmer, so you can basically squeeze a huge 6-inch panel inside a phone and get a size similar to 5.5-inch phones. But as I said, they didn't do a good job on the Maze Alpha because of this huge black frame on the bottom part. They basically took the upper frame of the screen and placed it downwards there. So this phone is surprisingly huge despite the all-screen or three bezel-less design. Just compare this to the Doogee Mix, which does a much better job in using the available space for the screen. It's much smaller. This one has a 5.5-inch screen, this one has a 6-inch screen, but the difference is huge. And also when putting the Xiaomi Mi Max 2 next to it, which has a 6.44-inch screen, the difference isn't that much. It's just a tiny little bit. So yeah, the Maze Alpha is really large and not as small as I would have expected in the beginning when ordering this phone. But at least it's fairly slim. This phone actually comes down to about 8.1 millimeters of thickness, which is pretty much okay considering that there is a 4000 milliamps battery inside of there. Of course, the camera module does stick out a little bit, but not too much. Overall build quality of the Maze Alpha is good. Really nothing to complain about. All parts fit together really well. There are no rattling parts, no gaps, no excessive glue or anything. It's just a premium phone. Nothing bad on this design. And it also is really sturdy. You can't bend this thing at all, which is decent. The fingerprint scanner does work well. It's not the fastest, but it is very reliable. It almost never fails, as you can see. Also with the other finger, it works fine. And no, it's not a fake sensor, so if I use one that I haven't scanned, I can't get inside my phone. The quality of the 6-inch Full HD panel on the Maze Alpha is really good. It has really good colors out of the box, no adjustment needed. Contrast is good, brightness is really good, sharpness is great, and also viewing angles are really good. So it's really a very good screen on there, nothing to complain about. The bezels are reasonably slim, so not too fat, looks decent. Also the upper bezel is very slim. What I did notice though is a little software bug when pulling the screen brightness down to the minimum. The screen starts flickering, which you likely you can see it through the camera. This is a bug they already know about, and it is supposed to be fixed with one of the next software updates. Talking about software updates, those are actually delivered by Maze and they are quite frequent. After unpacking the phone, I got 2 OTA updates right after starting it and connecting it to the internet. The first update was from July and the second update is actually from this month, August. And it also updated the security patch to August, which is the most recent one. So very nice seeing Maze caring about updating their phones. Regarding performance, Maze did a really good job optimizing the system. It runs really smooth and snappy, and not just the system itself, also all applications you throw at it, also if you do multitasking, it's all very smooth and snappy, really no issues, no hiccups, no stutter. It's really smooth, almost iPhone-like, which is really surprising. And also games do run perfectly fine as well. And the cooling is also very decent. I did some intense gaming on the phone and the maximum temperature I measured on the processor is 41 degrees Celsius, which is much less than, for example, on the 2G Mix, which is surprising. Regarding reception quality, the Maze Alpha seems to be located within the mid-range, not perfect but also not bad. Mobile network reception quality is very decent. As you can see, I have got a 3G connection with a reasonable signal strength inside this room, which is something by far not all phones manage to do. But Wi-Fi is where it has some problems. The phone is advertised to come with AC Wi-Fi, but judging from the speeds it reaches, it does not support AC Wi-Fi, and it also is kind of slow for BGN Wi-Fi or ABGN Wi-Fi, which you can see here. The maximum throughput reached was 64 Mbits of downstream, and then one floor below the router it dropped a bit more to 41 Mbit per second of downstream, which still is okay, but obviously it doesn't reach full speeds, and also it has some bandwidth drop when moving one floor below the router. For GPS, this one appears to be working fine. I haven't done any in-depth testing yet, of course, but the signal strength looks good. It gets a fast fix, and also the accuracy is pretty good, looking at this one here at 1.7 meters. What's kind of disappointing is the internal speaker. Basically, it wouldn't be bad. It has a decent amount of volume, doesn't show much distortions, and there also is a slight bass playback, but it sounds kinda tinny. Maybe because the speaker is a bit down there in the body, and due to all that space here, this might create this tinny sound effect, which is a little bit disappointing. But what's nice is that this phone also boasts a headphone jack. Chinese companies these days love leaving this one out in favor for Type-C audio, but Maze included one, and this one actually sounds really decent. Camera performance is where you shouldn't expect too much from. First, dual camera. This is the usual cheap, low budget dual camera setup, which doesn't do great pictures under all circumstances. You can do halfway decent pictures, but only with the right object and the right circumstances. Basically, it just draws a blurry circle around the object you are focusing on and has no real edge detection for the bokeh effect, as you can see here. Overall picture quality is decent when you do close-ups and macro shots, as you can see here, quite detailed and sharp. But as soon as it comes to landscape shots, the camera struggles with quite some noise in the picture. They look a bit grainy, but still colors look good. So I don't know if they can improve the picture quality with future updates. We will see about that. The front camera is kind of low mid-range quality. It's not the best, but also not the worst. It's acceptable for random shots, but not for high quality selfies. One bug I noticed when taking pictures with the internal LED flash is that sometimes the camera triggers too slow. So the LED flash was on, then it goes off, and then it takes a picture. So the result of this is a black picture where you see nothing. So they should really improve timing when taking pictures with LED flash. But then other times it just works fine. As you can see here, those two pictures have been taken with the LED flash and they did come out surprisingly decent. So it definitely is a pretty bright LED flash inside of there, considering it's a single LED one. Regarding battery life, I can't tell you too much about it yet because I haven't tested this one as a daily driver yet. But first results seem pretty good. I've had a hard time getting it to 20% on the first day, and I think it can reach around 8 to 9 hours of screen on time in real life use, which would be a very decent value, more than enough even for power users. So if it stays like this throughout the whole testing period, we can expect a really good battery life from this one. Charging takes around 2.5 hours from 20 to 100%. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you soon with the full review.